moving on to Rez, who has been patiently waiting for us, and also some of that time he was definitely dancing. So we appreciate you coming on. Rez, how are you feeling about that performance, mate?
Yes, Rez.
Excellent.
Yes, Rez. He's so happy.
Hello.
That's amazing, dude. How you doing, Rez?
How about that? Huh?
Wow.
How about that?
Wow.
All right. That's what we're talking about. Okay. Brilliant. We didn't play particularly well, but we ground out a excellent result. That's exactly what we needed. This is what we have to face, right? We're going to have to win ugly a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Until and unless Ange is given the opportunity to actually put together the squad that he wants. So
100%.
that was good. A good way of ending 2023, especially because Arsenal crumble is warming up very nicely. I have my custard ready to pour all over it and scoop it into my mouth.
How are they only 1 point ahead of us when they're in their title-winning season? It doesn't make any sense.
You know,
I've not been convinced with them the whole season. I think they're scraping through some games. They're not playing. You can't win a league with a front row who aren't scoring. You know,
that's true.
Barnaby, and Brains, it is a very nuanced and complex issue, right? There are many scientific papers on it. The one that I read started with "Arsenal are shit."
I knew you were going down the line of sarcasm.
I haven't read that one.
Yeah,
actually.
the other one I read is
that peer reviewed? Is that
it
peer
is
reviewed,
very
that
much
one?
so.
Yeah. Okay.
Very much so. Yes. It was done by Captain Lego Industries.
Who impressed you the most today, Rez?
Sorry, say again.
Who impressed you the most in today's 3-1 win?
If I'm being honest, first of all, obviously he was only on for about 30 minutes, so I would have said Sarr. But you know, he went off with that injury. That's terrible news for us. Because we don't want him to be injured. Obviously, we were going to lose him for AFCON anyway, but I don't know what's going to happen with that. But it's almost like at the moment with Spurs, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Yeah.
But even with all that, we are still in there. You know, we're still in the conversation.
We're 3 points off top, and it's gone so wrong. We've got 8 or 9 players out.
Yeah,
Is this not insane?
It's insane.
How
It's
many
mad,
times have
right?
we fallen? Has the ass fallen out of our season with just Son isn't playing? Oh my God, Kane isn't playing. Oh my God, you know it goes to hell. We've got 8 or 9 of them out.
Yeah.
Is Ange not pulling off absolute miracles?
Well, he really is. I mean, and this is what begs the question. Okay, imagine. I'm not saying he would have had that opportunity, but it does lead to a very, very important point. Imagine what this man can do if he had both a good quality squad, as a good quality first 11, and a decent quality bench.
Yes.
And this is where the onus, like never before, the sword of Damocles hangs over Mr. Levy's head. If he fails this time, he has nowhere else to turn, right? I have been quite open and frank about what I think of this man's stewardship, in inverted commas, of our club. This is his final opportunity. There is nowhere else to turn, because if he messes this one up, there is nowhere else. He can't blame it on anything else. He can't blame it on Mourinho.
On the flip side,
he can't blame it on Conte. He can't blame it on Mourinho. He can't blame it on Conte. He can't blame it on Pochettino. He can't then blame it on Postecoglou. At that point, it's a case of, right, the only common denominator that has been here in that time where Tottenham have been dross is you, Mr. Levy. Yeah. So that is where you need to say, I am not equipped to involve myself in football. Right. But we're going to see what happens in January, and then we'll see what happens in the rest of the season.
So what if he does just do what we all are dying for him to do? Bring in Drakusin, bring in Gallagher, bring in a Jota to just give us a little something else on the wing. Like, what if he just does that, and then in the summer he gives another 4 or 5 really good players?
Great, fantastic. But the thing that I would also state on that one is, you have to bear in mind that for a club like Tottenham Hotspur, that is the default position. It's
Yes,
not an
that's what we should
achievement
be.
position.
Yeah.
It's not a
That's
case of,
how we
oh,
should
I've done it this time, I've done my job. No, you've got to do that window after window after
Yeah,
window
it's
after
true.
window, right?
Yeah.
Look at Liverpool, look at Man City, look at Arsenal, look at Man United, look at all the bigger clubs. They don't do it in fits and spurts. They do it continually. They do it on a consistent basis. We can no longer afford to go down bargain basement routes. That's not me saying we've got to go out there and buy 150 million pound players in every transfer window and for every position. We're not Man City. They cheat. But
Love that.
but
Yes, correct.
there was a news article recently that stated we are the most profitable Premier League club in history. Where's that profit going?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we're also the club in Europe with the most debt.
Doesn't matter. That debt is structural. That debt is or is non-structural. It is based on other finances. That's the point.
Yeah,
right.
I personally, I don't think it's as simple as that, but I understand what you're saying.
Okay, hold on. If we want to get into the finances, we can get into the finances. That's quite easy. Okay, I'll say this to you. All right. Arsenal also had stadium debt until recently. I think they might still have some stadium debt, actually.
Yeah.
They had it, they serviced it, and they still spent. Okay. The key
Not
here
straight
is
away,
not
they didn't properly spend since they started when they bought Ozil.
It's
That was
still
about
not
6
the
years
stadium
later.
debt, Barnaby. Now hold on a second. Wait a second. Okay, we're going to stay into it. Okay, it's not stadium debt. Okay. In actual fact, the key indicator is wages to turnover ratio. Okay, that's where it comes to. Yeah, because the debt is structured over time. Yeah, you can service your debt without worrying about your turnover and your wages ratio. Spurs have the lowest wages to turnover ratio of any Premier League club, and I think about clubs in the Championship as well. Okay, so that is where you have the issue, because this is the mistake that people make. They think, oh, you can spend 150 million pounds or you got a 200 million pound war chest. No, it's not how it works. This is all about moving money moving around. What it comes down to is the ongoing cost. Yeah, this is why the Premier League have brought in their amortization rules recently, because what Chelsea were trying to do was trying to spread the cost so that they could spend big in inverted commas. Again, the Premier League said, no, we don't do that. But it all boils down to wages to turnover ratio. We have the lowest in the Premier League and potentially the Championship as well. Why? Why do we have the lowest? It's not the stadium debt that causes that. When your wages to turnover ratio is only 30%, and the sort of sweet spot that is sort of been deemed by finance experts to be the right area is about 70%. Right. Why are we spending 40% less? That's the key. Yeah. So for me, I have no truck with the idea that we have stadium debt. Bournemouth have stadium debt, but their bench is adequate for their side. I'm not saying they've got a great bench in absolute terms, but when you compare it to the team that they can field as their first 11, their bench is adequate. So they can do it. They've got stadium debt. Everton are looking to take on stadium debt with their new project, if it ever comes on. You know, yeah, sure, they look like they might be going to administration because of the £100 million that they were lent by 777. But the finances are there. Where is the money? That question has not been answered.
You just brought up Everton. I think that's an interesting one. Obviously, Everton did do what you're saying we're missing, which is, you know, really splurging on a lot of players and managers over a course of kind of 4 or 5 years in a way that we've not been deemed to do. And obviously them and I guess Todd Bowley at Chelsea have proven that it's not as simple as just spending all of that money, is it? I don't really, let's not get too much into this because obviously we won a game today and it's a really happy day and whatever.
Yeah, of course,
and
absolutely.
I'm not by any means, I'm not like pro Enoch or pro Levy or whatever. I'm just a little bit more like try and see the whole story a little bit. And I do look at Chelsea and Everton to a lesser degree and think actually a big corner of the Spurs fan base really wanted that. And I do think there is an element to say it's really dangerous to push yourself out of your comfort zone in that front. And then the other thing, and I've said this before, and I'm not saying this is right, but I bet when Daniel Levy has conversations about spending huge amounts of money, say on strikers specifically, he'll say every single time I've spent big money on a striker, it's gone wrong. And we've lost tens and tens of millions of pounds as a result. So I'm not saying that he shouldn't do it. What I'm saying is I can kind of sometimes understand that it's a difficult dance. It's just a nuanced, difficult dance.
No, you see, this is okay, fine. All right, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will concede that point about it's a difficult thing, right? If that's the case, if it's something that's difficult, what anyone who is responsible for a multi-billion-pound enterprise would do would look at themselves and ask if they are adequately equipped to do that job.
Yeah.
So are you suggesting? Sorry, mate.
So
Are you
is Levy
suggesting? Are you
adequately
suggesting
equipped?
that there's an answer potentially where a new CEO comes in under ENIC who isn't Daniel Levy, and Levy leaves the club?
Yes. Yes, very easily. It happens all the time in business. That's why people go off and study for MBAs. It's because they want to be CEOs. A CEO is not linked to the number of shares that you have in a company. Just because ENIC and Levy own the club doesn't necessarily mean they have to run the club. We can have someone who comes in and runs as the chief executive, right? The club. We have a chairman. We shouldn't have the same person being both the chairman and the chief executive. Their
Yeah, I think that's a
board
good point.
of a thing shouldn't be stuffed with people that are only management consultants picked by the chairman / CEO. We should have a better corporate structure as well. Okay. So we don't have this conversation every time it comes close to a transfer window. We don't sit there saying, oh, if Mr. Levy backs the board, right, or backs the manager, you know, or if he doesn't back the manager, things will go wrong, or, you know, things. It shouldn't always be a what if. We should have faith that those in charge are interested in the same thing that they are, that they say that they're interested in. We hear it all the time. We're fans too. We want Tottenham to win. Okay, fine. So either that's the truth and you're not doing a wonderfully good job, or it's a lie and so you shouldn't be in charge. It's not a case of what they're saying is truth and they're actually doing it. Either they're not doing it because they're not competent, or they're not doing it because they don't want to do it. Either way, that means that they should change their stance at the very least. My call in the short term is for Daniel Levy to entirely divorce himself from all footballing matters, completely and utterly, right? Just say to whoever's in charge, in this case, I'm guessing Johan Langer, Ange Postecoglou, and anyone else football related who might need to be involved. Here's your pot of money. You use it as you see fit, but there's no more after that. Right? I'm not going to sanction or stop any sales. You're the ones that deal with it. I am just going to look after the business side of things, right? And see how that works. And in the long term, someone who will either continue that, or if they want to be involved, have got a background in football. But anyway, I want to talk about the game. I do want to talk about the game and laugh at Arsenal.
Thank God.
It's all very look. It is very pertinent, obviously, because January's coming up, and I understand it. And look, it's really nice to have a conversation with someone who has an eloquent view on it, and also has a bit more kind of, you know, you're closer to my age than a lot of the people who kind of get very angry about it on social media, I would say.
Yeah, you're both old.
So yeah, exactly, we're both old. But yeah, so we'll get onto the game, Rez. So
Not mentally, not mentally,
who really impressed you? Who really impressed you today?
Oh, yeah, Saar was really good. Again, I the other one that I want to mention is Vicario, because I don't think that there is enough love in the world to give to that guy. I really don't.
Yeah.
Okay? What a revelation. I was one of those that when we failed to get David Raya, I was very, very upset. I thought, you know, he would come to us. Why wouldn't he come to us? Thank God we didn't get David Raya. Thank God for Vicario. Brilliant. Absolutely superb.
Outside of Rez, sorry to interrupt. I've just seen. I think this is a quote. Ange was asked about his flare up and red mist, and he said it was fine. We were wishing each other a happy New Year. Classic. But it was good to see some. It was good to see some fight in him, wasn't it? I like that.
I think that the fight is there. I think he's a different build to probably most football managers, actually, because you watch him in a press conference and he's got a very, I don't want to say idiosyncratic, I'll say unique sense of humor, unique in as much as it's not the way that most football managers will interact with the press. They'll either be very sort of, you know, straight down the line. He's got shades of the Ian Holloway about him. Remember Ian Holloway? He used to do his conferences. You know, they were like almost like stand-up comedy routines. And so I think I think Ange is of a different mold, and so I doubt he would ever come out. I mean, someone, let's say, just take someone for instance by Conte. He would say, "Oh, nothing happened. There was you're talking rubbish," or Pochettino might say, "Oh, I love this counterpart person," or anything. Ange will put his own unique little spin on it, which is always wonderful to hear. He's fantastic. I've got a lot of time for him.
Did today denote the kind of final piece in the jigsaw of Gio Lo Celso's kind of full character arc back to an absolutely top level player who is absolutely right for this squad?
Yeah, difficult to tell at this point. If you look at it in the sort of lens of it, really, he's only been given essentially 20 games in which that could have happened. Not that he's appeared in 20 games, the period is 20 games. And in the same way that you wouldn't condemn a player after, say, 5 bad performances, we shouldn't at the same time necessarily rehabilitate the player after 5 good performances. We need to see a consistent half season before we can even start thinking about that conversation. And then see what he does at the end of the look back on the season as a whole at the end of this season and say, what has he contributed? How has he done? Has he taken the step up?
Can he stay fit?
Can he stay fit?
Can he stay fit? Absolutely. I think a large part of what's gone wrong with Lo Celso will have been because he was bought for a system that wasn't played. I think I'm speculating, obviously, but I think that there's a large element of the instinctive with him. He's one of those players that plays the game with his heart rather than his head. Again, I'm speculating, so I don't know. And so he needs a faster pace. He needs something that he can do without necessarily thinking it through and just sort of jumping into it and doing it.
It was a near perfect performance today, though, right? What did you think of him just today?
It was good. I mean, there were a couple of points where I thought, hold on a minute, Gio, what are you doing? There were a bit, it wasn't a thing. There was a couple of passes that I thought, went astray that I think he sort of picked the wrong ones. But it's not if you said to me, if someone said to me, right, in 2020, at the end of 2023, you'll have Gio Lo Celso on the pitch and he will contribute massively to a hard-fought 3-1 win over a difficult opponent, I would have laughed at you.
Right,
yeah, I think that's fair enough. We got a super chat here from Powder TCG, says entire dynamic change when Sarr went off is so important for us. Would you agree with that, Rez? Do you think Sarr is a vital cog? I think he is.
Absolutely, absolutely, it was. The whole thing changed. We were in control because he was everywhere. He was that linchpin at the anchor point, if you like. Just sort of It was almost like a stack of 3 central midfielders with Sarr at the sort of back end. Then you had Bentancur in the middle, and you had Lo Celso up front. And it was almost like that's the flow that you had through the midfield, the middle of the park. Once he went, because Skip has limitations. I think he has a lot to contribute, but he has limitations in as much as he can't be Sarr. That fell apart, and it just essentially turned into Bournemouth sending wave after wave after wave after us. Hence the lethality we showed when we actually got the ball up the pitch. 3 really, really hard, sort of stinging goals that we scored, mainly because we got the ball beyond that middle of the park that he would have created from, and so we could do the creativity.
Skip, really,
exactly. Not that I've got a bad word to say about Skip. No. If I'm being honest, in the current setup, in a Spurs team that plays in this fashion, I don't see a long-term future for him. I don't think he's a bad player. I just, in the same way that Gio was not fit for previous systems, I think Skip might not be right for future systems. I think he's a great lad. He's got so much passion, huge amount of strength. It will work until he drops for the side, but he doesn't have all the tools necessary. I would take a player that's got a little less heart, a little less strength, but maybe a bit more technicality for him, like Sarr. So I hope that either he develops those skills or he moves on to somewhere where he would fit in better and has the career that he deserves, because he's a good lad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Skippy wasn't still at the club past the summer. Rez, thank you so much for calling in, mate. Really appreciate it. Have a great New Year.
Happy New
Before
Year,
I go,
mate.
Before I go, can I just laugh at Arsenal one last time?
You may. We allow it.
Yep. Love it.
Thanks very much, guys. See you soon. Have a great
Cheers,
New Year.
have a